Let's talk about Trump's nominee for Labor Secretary, Lori Chavez DeRemer. So she is a Republican, but the Republicans in the Senate apparently don't like her all that much. NBC News reports a number of Senate Republicans have problems with Donald Trump's nominee for Labor Secretary, citing pro-union stances she has taken in the past that clash with the business community. How dare she take pro-union stances? Quote, "I'm not going to support her," Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky told NBC News on Monday. "I'm the national spokesman and lead author of the Right to Work bill. Her support for the PRO Act, which would not only oppose national right to work, but would preempt state law on right to work, I think it's not a good thing. And it'd be sort of hard for me, since it's a big issue for me to support her, so I won't support her," he said. "I think she'll lose 15 Republicans, Paul added, while predicting she would win some Democrats because, quote, "she's very pro-labor." The Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Help Committee hasn't scheduled a hearing yet on Chavez DeRemer, who represented a small swing district in Oregon for one time before she lost re-election to a Democrat last fall. When asked if he's told the White House about his opposition, Paul said, "You're welcome to tell them." Okay, Donald Trump, if you're watching this video, Rand Paul does not like Lori Chavez DeRemer, and he's very opposed to the fact that she doesn't hate unions, and he thinks businesses are better than unions. The stark opposition from a Republican senator who is otherwise aligned with Trump points to the challenges ahead for Chavez DeRemer, an unorthodox GOP pick who supported the PRO Act, which would beef up labor protections for employees to collectively bargain and expand the scope of what counts as an unfair labor practice. She has also earned qualified praise from traditionally Democratic-aligned labor groups, including the AFL-CIO. For the same reasons, Chavez DeRemer has drawn deep skepticism from the business lobby, which has had a strong relationship with Republicans for many years. Uh-oh, is a divorce coming? Quote, "My biggest concern going into a new Trump administration is a dramatic shift on labor unions, traditionally a large Democratic fundraising base," a veteran business lobbyist said. "The nominee for Labor Secretary has shown previous support for anti-employer rights legislation, and there is no reason to believe that she won't put people and policies in place to enact new employment regulations that restrict employers' rights." How horrible. Who would want to do something like that? People who care about employees? I mean, that's just terrible. Quote, "I hope I am wrong, but we could be headed into a difficult 4 years for public and private sector employees," the person added. We're heading into a difficult 4 years for most of the country, but Lori Chavez DeRemer is not the reason for that, buddy. A Trump spokesman did not return a request for comment for this story. For now, at least Democratic support is uncertain. Bernie Sanders of Vermont, a champion of the labor movement and the top Democrat of the committee, declined to comment on her Monday. "There's a process with the hearings. We'll ask our questions and we'll see what she has to say," Sanders said. When asked if he's open-minded about her nomination, Sanders said, "I'm open-minded about everybody." Paul isn't the only skeptical Republican. If his estimation is correct, Chavez DeRemer would need significant Democratic support to be confirmed in the chamber, where the GOP has a 53-47 majority. Quote, "It's concerning," said Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican of Wisconsin, when asked about the Chavez DeRemer nomination. Johnson said he has questions for Chavez DeRemer about the PRO Act in particular. Quote, "Why would she support that?" Johnson said when asked what he would want to talk to Chavez DeRemer about. Another longtime Republican who in the past has lobbied for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce expressed concern and was unsure why Trump nominated Chavez DeRemer. "Yeah, that came out of left field," the person said. "I think for the most part, many of Trump's nominees were defensible, but this one caught everyone off guard." Senator John Hoeven, a Republican of North Dakota, wouldn't say if she's a good nominee. Quote, "I don't know, because I don't know her. I haven't met her," Hoeven said. "She's not a traditional pick for a Republican president." Yeah, this is one of those weird curveballs that Trump threw. You know, it's kind of like the First Step Act in his first term, where it's like a law and order Republican is doing this, and in this case, it's like a pro-business, anti-union, anti-working class Republican is doing this. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Quote, I'm a right to work guy, the senator added. I mean, there's certain fundamental principles. For folks who want to collectively bargain and unionize, that's fine. You're allowed to do that, as long as it's fair and open and all those kind of things. But at the same time, I firmly believe in right to work. You can't be mandated to join a union or something like that. So those are some of the kinds of things that we need to talk about. So the reason that right to work is anti-union and a lot of these people support right to work is because it prevents you from requiring people to join unions, but actually the pro-union policy is to have them join work and join the union, not be like, oh, you get to work, but you're going to work under terrible conditions. Sorry. That's right to work. Paul's National Right to Work Act was co-sponsored by 13 Republican senators in the last Congress. It would eliminate portions of the National Labor Relations Act and the Railway Labor Act that allows pacts between employers and unions, requiring employees to be union members when hired. John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, said Trump is entitled to his cabinet absent extraordinary circumstances, but added that it's fair to call Chavez de Remer a non-traditional nominee. Quote, one of the biggest problems we've had, for example, with trade agreements has been that organized labor is allergic to them, Cornyn said, and so that's something I would want to explore. Some Republicans are not yet weighing in. For example, Senator Mike Crapo, Republican of Idaho. Bill Cassidy says he wasn't sure when Chavez de Remer's hearing would be. Steve Daines said Trump's labor pick is consistent with his promise to be a different kind of president. Okay, so that's interesting. He's a Republican from Montana, and he seems to be saying that, I assume, as a form of praise, because they're the same political party. But yeah, it's interesting. What do you think about Chavez de Remer? Do you think that it signals a pro-working class pivot for Donald Trump? Or do you think it's kind of just the exception and absolutely not the rule? I tend to believe it's the exception and not the rule. For Biden's presidency, he was very pro-labor. So when Trump comes along, and I guess there's one area in which he might not be deviating too much from Biden, and it's having someone who's at least kind of sympathetic to labor in his cabinet. Biden had a really strong NLRB, so maybe Trump continues that. I don't know. What do you think? He's an oddball for sure. It seems like a lot of his administration is hardcore loyalists and MAGA types. We don't know if this individual, Lori Chavez de Remer, is a hardcore loyalist to Trump. Her labor policies are not necessarily Republican Party traditional, not exactly the type of thing you normally hear from the GOP, but certainly something that Trump could be open to as a person. Because yeah, he does kind of just shoot from the hip. And yeah, I guess this comes as evidence of the Republican Party maybe not totally being a cult. As I explained in one of my recent videos, I don't necessarily see them as a cult. There is reason to believe that they're becoming less cult-like as time goes on, and that 2024 was really just the fever pitch. But yeah, there's Republican senators revolting from this pick. Rand Paul is one of them, and Rand Paul is a notorious Trump bootlicker. He also fancies himself a libertarian, but more often than not, he would kiss some of the authoritarian tendencies of Trump, kiss them on the ring, basically. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.